Yeah, hello. We're live. No, this is live. I am not a cat. This is yeah. I'm not a cat. This is live. God, I hope you guys know what this is from. Hey everybody, this is Matt DeWolf. I'm not a cat, as you can see, or just a second. I am not a cat. Hey, we are live again on Car Wash Magazine Live. This crazy marketing panel that I've got sitting in the green room convinced me that we should do that. So you're welcome for all of that. We're gonna rock and roll today. Okay, so we've got a social media program for you, and so be forewarned, we might be here for a while because there is a lot to talk about and a lot to kind of get through on this realm, and we're hoping to give you guys some really great ways to kind of move your business forward on that front. Now, look, we may all be of like varying degrees of excitement around social media and whether it's good or bad or the bane of existence or the best thing that's happened since sliced bread. But there's one thing that remains true, and that is it is not going anywhere. And we are all stuck doing it. So we're going to try today to figure out how to resource to it appropriately and how to kind of figure that out. And if you want to do really positive and strong social media, you do require some resource. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to hear from 3 marketing experts in our field here. And we're going to see if we can't find some ways to give you some of your time back, figure out where you should be posting some of your stuff, and whether or not you should be spending money, and if so, where you should spend money. Let's level set though, okay? So first and foremost, in our panel of experts that we bring together on a regular basis, kind of talk about marketing in the car wash industry. What we kind of universally found is that Facebook and Instagram are taking up a lion's share of folks' time. So all kinds of energy going into Facebook and Instagram and trying to figure that out and stay on top of that. And then you've got this kind of Twitter side over here that seems to be more of a local partner, influencer campaign sort of approach, just kind of looking for people that are already doing Twitter and like that platform and kind of working with them. And then you've got LinkedIn, right? Nobody seems to really kind of have a great approach to LinkedIn. We don't really know what to do with it. Some of us are, hanging just enough of a presence out there that we still feel like, if we want to do some career stuff or some hiring or recruiting, that's there. And then there's a smattering of some folks really embracing Google My Business. Some are not doing anything there. All kinds of things to try to navigate. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. Bandwidth, though, we just talked about a lot, right? So bandwidth remains an issue for everybody, and trying to figure out like, what do I focus on? Which new platform coming down do I need to be watching? For example, here's a great example for you guys. Clubhouse, okay, if you haven't heard about it, Clubhouse is one right now. You should go out if you're an iPhone user, get your username reserved. It's invitation only, but get your username reserved right now. It's audio only kind of social networking. It's like education conference meets Hangouts meets it's interesting. You got to get in, you got to play with it, you got to check it out. But it's moving fast, right? These social media trends move so quickly. Facebook itself is already rumored to be competing working on a product that's going to compete with Clubhouse. So all these things to watch. We're gonna figure out how to kind of approach this here today. So regardless of all the platforms out there, we know that social media itself has great power, and Uncle Ben says that with great power comes great responsibility, as you all know. We're gonna think through today how we can best maximize on some of that. And joining me today, let's get these guys off of mute here for just a second. Joining me today, we've got 3 operators, all multi-site operators. But guess what? Whether you have 1 location or 1,000 locations, social media is a challenge, and it's in front of all of us. And so here we go. So let me get these folks in here for just a second. If I can get all the right things for you guys. Let's bring them on. Hey, there's everybody. There you guys are. Oh, come on, you guys. Yeah, gosh. Okay. I know I set you guys up with, this whole social media madness thing going on, and you guys are also excited. I know that you've been tweet gram booking all morning, and you're going to take some time here with us today. So thanks for being here. Look, as I like to do on this program, well, first of all, for the folks at home, you can read it. We've got Nick Rodia from Sergeant Clean, Justin Young from Splash Car Washes in Arkansas, and Beth Martin from Express Wash Concepts or Clean or Flying Ace or Moo Moo or whatever you want to say. So Beth kind of handles it all over there. These are your experts for the day. Get your questions lined up. Get them in the comments below, and here we go. So we like to start off with thumbs up, thumbs down, because why would we not? So here we go. I want to know from our marketing experts here, should I outsource my social media? So Nick, you're new on the program, so this is how this works, my friend. I'm gonna give you 60 seconds or maybe a minute and a half, and you get to tell me why you are thumbs up, I should outsource, thumbs down, I should not outsource my social media efforts. So let me get you squared up here, and your time starts now.
Sure. So thanks, Matt. I am a thumbs down on outsourcing. I'm certainly in the camp of keeping that in-house. I'd like to say, the terminology finger on the pulse. So I believe you as an operator will have a way better understanding of your members and guests than most outside agencies. That applies to things that could be going on in the community that you could post or content that you could gather more locally than someone that's not based where you are. Another, talking point would be organic content is an opportunity for you to empower team members to contribute. As a single site operator or a multi-site operator, you probably don't have the ability to be on site at each location every day. So really empowering the team to essentially be extensions of yourselves provides them an opportunity to have some buy-in and contribute to that content that you're posting. And the third is spend. I mean, you look at it, and I actually spent some time in the marketing technology space. So if you're an operator that does have the budget, I would say look at bringing in a full-time team member or a part-time team member that may be able to have the ability or talent to not just spearhead social efforts, but maybe also bucket it under graphic design as well. So thumbs down, though.
Hard thumbs down. A hard thumbs down from Nick from Sergeant Clean. Really interesting points. I'm interested to hear a little bit more about that kind of the agency side and some of the expense and the benefits. We'll come back to that. So, all right. So that's your thumbs down number one. I don't know if we've ever started with the thumbs down before, so that's new. Justin, should I outsource social media? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
And we'll keep the negativity rolling. That's right. There we go.
Thumbs down. Rolling. Two of them. All right. Why?
Yeah, a lot of the same reasons for us, but I think just that agility kind of piece that you're able to have when you have it in-house, just being able to kind of adapt to what's going on. And, there's a lot of back and forth when you're working with an agency, specifically on social media. For us, practically, like, we do the interior cleaning and oil changes as well. And then we've got multiple locations that, some do car washes only, some do it all, some do. And so just being able to communicate those nuances to someone who isn't like really, in touch with your brand and who you are, just makes it difficult. And so I found, it can be almost more work doing that, just having to, with the back and forth. And so I think that is a big point. And then just brand protection. It's just such y'all know when something's out there, it's out there. And so I like keeping the control on that and making sure that we are, 100%, just staying in line with who we are. So I would say thumbs down.
Hard thumbs down. 2 thumbs down. Gosh, you guys. And now I might say we might be control freaks. I'm just going to put that out there. I mean, we're trying to hang on to our brand. Maybe we're control freaks. Something to think about. We're going to come back to that too. Hey, Beth, your turn here. Thumbs up, thumbs down. What say you?
I'm going to make you really nervous for a second, Matt, and I'm going to do 2 thumbs up. And I'd like everybody in the comment section, 2 thumbs up to bring back Matt the cat.
Oh, no.
Okay. Now, with that said, I'm going to follow Justin and Nick and say, thumbs down to outsourcing. Being a multi-site operator, and especially one with multiple brands, it is just extremely cost prohibitive for us to go with an agency at this point. My background is more than 20 years on the agency side, so I kind of know where the strengths and weaknesses lie. In-house, you're always going to be up to date with the content, the brand, kind of the tempo that you want to work with. And agencies, honestly, are excellent at the planning and probably the execution standpoint. But, what happens if you're doing a campaign with an agency? Are they still going to, go through the feedback on these posts? If you're looking at, a Facebook campaign, are they going to be as responsive as you would be if you were handling that with your in-house team? So, agencies are great at being proactive. They're not necessarily so great at being reactive. So I think that we can all attest to the fact that, a lot of things come up at the last minute that you need to address. And you're going to be managing an agency and taking the same amount of time that you would if you were just handling it yourself. So thumbs down.
Thumbs down. 3 thumbs down. First time on this program we've ever kicked off with such a down statement, but that's okay, because guess what? There are no wrong answers on this program. So thumbs down on, should I outsource? No, you should keep it in-house. Now, that said, I think there are things that apply whether you are actually insourcing or outsourcing your stuff. Regardless, we're going to talk about that next as in terms of how do we feed our content monster. But I want to come back real quick. So, okay, we said do not outsource. That was our panel opinion. Great. How do I structure my business so that I can insource it and I can find bandwidth and do these things? Like, any tips for how I do that? And Beth, let's start with you since we'll just go in reverse order here.
Okay, excellent. Well, we talked about feeding the content monster, right? I think that all of us on this call today, that's our biggest struggle, right? Is having on hand regular fresh content that we can execute, pretty quickly. So when I think about feeding the content monster, I came up with a little acronym here. We like acronyms at Express Wash Concepts, and don't worry, it's a good one.
All right.
But pie, we are going to feed the content monster pie, and that's planning, implementation, and evaluation. So many people, they tackle social media where it's all about just getting that post out. I want to post out 2 things a week, 3 things a week. Okay. But are you taking the time to make sure that the content that you're sending out is relevant? Are you taking the time to go back and evaluate and see that particular theme really resonated with my audience? And I can tell that by the amount of impressions that I get. So, everything you do, keep the pie in the back of your mind. And then, creating a content calendar is the single most important thing that you can do to stay on top of this. And, I think we discussed on a separate call. I mean, I spent probably a full day putting together a 52-week calendar that's going to carry us through this entire year. Overall, high level themes, right? But I know that I want to do team spotlights in there. I know that I want to, solicit reviews. I'm coming through the little national day, cutesy pizza day type of calendars, so I can add those in there. So I'm touching on a little bit of those as well. You got to do the planning first. You can't just go straight to the implementation stage.
Nice. Well, we won't say the other version of the acronym that it started with, but if anybody wants
let's do. No.
I mean, it's not that bad.
I'm just gonna say it.
Do it. Let it rip.
It was gonna be PEE, which is planning, execution, and evaluation. But we decided to switch it over to pie.
So, moral of the story is, it maybe doesn't matter what you feed the content monster, whether it's pea or pie. That content monster is going to eat it. That's what we have today. So, gosh, you guys, here we go off the rails. All right, so let's stay on the Content Monster train, because that is something that chases me every single week, and here we are feeding that beast with some pie. And Justin, um, I know you guys stick to kind of high level themes. Can you kind of explain what you guys are doing from a just a content calendar planning perspective on the social side?
Yeah, and just to set this up, I saw a post the other day. It was probably a month ago, and it said, "So you're telling me social media managers are now responsible for Facebook, Facebook stories, Twitter, LinkedIn stories, Instagram stories, TikTok, Snapchat." It was like, I think it was 26 different things that have popped up, and it's just like this ongoing cycle of of stuff to do. And I I think there's value in just doing a few things well and not trying to overextend it. But with that being said, I've been involved with our social media for over 2 years now, and just honestly, just the constant weight of that, and there's no end in sight. Like, there's never going to be a time where we have to stop coming up with content, right? And so it's just like this constant creativity churn of just go more. And so it can weigh on you. But I think for us, one thing that's really helped is a little bit like Beth said. So she was saying to, just get those themes. So we sat down and said, as a brand, what are things that we consistently want to highlight on social media? And I think we've got like 15. So it might be hiring, team member highlight, something fun, which could be like, the fruit by the foot challenge or whatever's hot that month, something fun, something about unlimiteds, blah, blah, blah. And so just having that framework is just really good to just get the ball rolling on it. And so every month when we're planning social, we just sit down and say, okay, something fun. And we think through kind of the current trends or something, exciting that we've seen with one of our team members that we think would communicate well on social. So that's been really good, just creating a framework and then just going back to that. And I think it helps your customers too, because people like to know what to expect a lot of times. And so when you get into a consistent flow on stuff, I think it helps.
So, Nick, I don't want to cut you off. Do you have thoughts on the Content Monster as well? I have lots of thoughts about Content Monsters, but is there anything you want to kind of say about what you guys are doing at Sergeant Clean?
Yeah, so I'll make it quick, but I think a lot of people that tune in to Car Wash Live, they're looking at a way to educate themselves on best practices, and I think that in terms of the content calendar, that's me too, because we're not currently using a content calendar, but when this discussion came up, I was all ears. My primary responsibility is spearheading our marketing efforts. But as an organization that's in growth mode, I wear a lot of different hats. And a lot of times when you're looking at prioritization, for me, sometimes social is the first victim of that prioritization. So something like a content calendar for folks that may wear multiple hats in their organizations, there's a huge benefit to that. So,
all right. So I'm gonna soapbox for a minute. Okay. So for I don't know 15 years I've been really hot on content calendars because all of the things you guys just said. It gives you framework. It gives you some high level themes you can look at. It's like easy for you to kind of follow along and like keep yourself consistent. I think it's really, really applicable in the car wash industry because guess what car wash people do? They create process that is repeatable, that they can follow, that they can train on. That's what a content calendar does for you. And when you start at the content calendar level and you build that thing out, you pull out the sheet and you look and you say, oh yeah, I got to work on that today. And guess what? When you get to the point where you're not the one that has to work on it, you can say, hey, Jackie, Joe, here's what you got to work on today. And it's there and everybody's aligned and it's a process and a framework that you can follow. We're going to get into all kinds of stuff on this program, not this exact episode, but this program in the future around how do you take that content calendar and apply it to customer journeys and how do you kind of bring in some of that thinking in. This is going to get real fun real fast, but we'll come back to that stuff another time, you guys. Content calendars, you got to love them. I love them. Look, let's say that, okay, so in our theoretical group car wash, we all have one car wash together. Let's say that we've decided that we know where we're going to spend our energy. We're going to spend a lot of time in a couple of platforms. We've decided that we're going to have a 52-week content calendar that's going to give us our high-level themes. So we now know what we're going to post and where we're going to post it. I want to know next, like, are we going to pay for any exposure? Like, are we doing paid social? So let's start. Let's throw it up. Let's start in the middle. Justin, why don't you kick us off on this one? Are we paying for social? And if so, where are we paying for it?
Good question, and thank you for allowing me to not be the middle child. Let's go. Golly, man, social media. When we were talking on our call last week, we were all just having this kind of existential crisis of like, what is the point of this? Because it is so hard to monetize if you're not tracking conversion straight to an e-commerce purchase. It's really hard to monetize, and so. I think a lot of our social media ends up centering around just earning people's trust before they walk in the door. And so we focus really hard on the cultural stuff in making the customer and our team members the hero. And so with that, we end up not spending. We don't have a ton of ad spend, but we do things throughout the year, different campaigns and stuff in which we do spend money on those. And on Facebook specifically, a little bit kind of does go a long way. And so I kind of think of it, I was breaking it down when I was looking through this, and let's say we spent $200 on something, and that $200 reached however many impressions, gave you however many thousand impressions they say it gives you. But let's just boil it down and say that got you 5 new people, 5 new customers. I don't think that's that crazy to assume it resulted in 5 new customers. For us, one of those 5 comes in, gets an $8 wash. One comes and gets our $23 wash, but they do it twice in a year. One gets an interior cleaning for $45. One becomes a regular oil change customer, gets it done 3 times, $150, and then one gets an unlimited and spends, $350 over the course of the year. That's $600 right there. And so it's easy in my head to monetize it, but it's hard to actually prove that, because you can't track that all the time. And so I think it's worth it on some things, specific campaign related stuff, but just the organic, cultural stuff sometimes does just as well. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. All that data and all the stuff that we can track and watch people through and how they move through the internet. Yes, everyone watching, we are watching you. So all that stuff we can follow. Sometimes getting to that conversion point and knowing exactly what the thing was is really hard. So it's sort of like it's all of it, right? It's the collective influence and the sphere of how you're talking to people and where you're talking to them and making sure that number one, you are talking to them. Hey, Nick, I know you guys are scratching the surface here on paid social. Do you want to go next for me?
Yeah, sure, Matt. So, if you would have asked this question as a thumbs up, thumbs down, and I know I'm a first-time guest, but watching in the past, I know you're not wild about sitting on the fence, but I would have sat on the fence. I would have sat on the fence there. So yeah, to your point. We did start to scratch the surface in 2020 with paid social, and a lot of that was going through the Facebook, Instagram channel, and I think the early returns were positive, but you may need to take that with a grain of salt. So I think in terms of paid social, it does provide you an opportunity to maybe pull some levers to target smarter. Pulling those levers of location, pulling the levers of demographics or of specific interests. And it does provide, where we found, it gives some awareness to maybe a new location that you're opening. Right or wrong, there are a big group of folks out there that use social media as their primary news source. So that provides you an opportunity to kind of tap those folks with some awareness campaigns. And to Justin's point, I think you do need to be smart about it because, I'm a data nerd myself. So if you're going to look at ROI, you really need to hardcore be able to track that back to whichever point of sale software you're using to see if it's moving the needle or not. But in terms of the awareness campaign, you just got to kind of take a leap of faith and say, hey, I may not be able to track this back specifically, but if you start to maybe have some conversations when those wheels are coming on the lot to see if, hey, I saw your ad, you can track it a little bit that way. But I think where the thumb to the side comes in is you also got to be smart about the content too, because it kind of is a one size fit all to a point where if you're using it for specific promotions, is there a possibility that you may upset the apple cart and your members are going to say, well, these folks are getting this. Why didn't I when I signed up? So I think, early returns are positive, but I'm not 100% bought in as of yet.
All right. So yeah, there is some concern when you start putting that message out there and you start being a little kind of maybe too free with couponing and discounting and that sort of a thing on those price points. Yeah, I mean, you do have because we now have monthly recurring revenue in this industry, right? There are people who are going to get upset about, hey, wait a minute, when I signed up, I paid full price. What are you going to do for me? So watch for that. There are other ways you can provide some value there and do some things. We may come back to that. Beth, I can't remember if you had an example about what you guys do for folks in those scenarios or not.
For folks in the scenarios that are upset, right?
Yeah.
When it depends on the situation. We've been known to, send them little goodies, whether it be, an upgrade or an air freshener or, depending on the situation. There have been times where we'll bump them out a month. We can tell, when they signed up, if they had an incentive at their time of sign up, and they have a very valid point. So our goal is always going to be 100% customer satisfaction. And, it's definitely cheaper to retain them than to lose them. So we're going to do what it takes within reason to keep them happy.
And then, Beth, you guys do a really great job with all of your brands in partnering in the community, partnering with different groups and looking at kind of creative ways to do that. We heard a little bit about paid social. Can you talk a little bit about some of the partnership stuff that you guys do and the success you've seen there?
Absolutely. Because if I have, $250 to spend on a social campaign, I'm going to take that $250 and I'm going to find a local person to partner with so I can kind of piggyback on their social following. We've done that with great success, particularly in the Instagram front. And to give you an example, we partnered with a local media group in the Columbus market called 614 Magazine. And we gave them free washes for a year to have a social contest on Instagram where, you would like the Moo Instagram page, you would tag a person, blah, blah, blah. And, that's at cost, right, for us. And we received over 2,300 comments on that. It's their highest contest that they've ever run. And I think that kind of stuff is important. So if I'm given, $250, I mean, we spend low hundreds of dollars each month, just to give you a little benchmark on digital advertising. Because I'm always looking for a way where I can partner and tap into their networks for free or for the cost of, a membership or a free wash here or there. To me, that's the way you do it.
I really like that. That analogy of piggybacking on, because I think we get caught up sometimes in thinking, well, how are we going to get all these followers? How are we going to get all these likes? How are we going to get all these things? And you don't have to build that organically. There are people, I mean, let's be honest, people are out there getting influencer degrees, right? So you can find influencers and you can find the right things and look at the right partners and get the result you need without having to build a large following from scratch. So I think that's great advice.
Yeah, and pick one a week, pick one a month, take your time to do, it all goes back to that planning again, right? Before you implement, just map out who you want to target, even if it's over the quarter. It doesn't have to be, 10,000 people. It can start with one person and, go from there. And honestly, I wouldn't recommend just sticking with one influencer, to represent your brand anyway.
Right.
Because things, have happened. In the past, even with us, when we've tried to partner with influencers, who may or may not, make some poor life decisions, and then they're indirectly tied to your brand. So you always have to have that in the back of your mind, I think, as well.
So there's another place I want to go here before we get to the kind of the last question I like to ask everybody about. What's one thing that I can do today? You bring it up. We were talking about sourcing and insourcing our content earlier. Any tips for ways that I can get more content, can maybe lean on my employees, anything I should be sharing or anything I should watch when I'm sharing content from others? And let's go real quick. Let's go from Nick. On my screen, it's Nick, Justin, Beth. Nick, can we go back to you here? Any tips on what you guys might be trying on the content sourcing front?
Yeah. So again, I think I'm just going to circle back to, you're going to have more opportunity if you kind of leverage what you're working with. And so we have 6 locations now. I certainly can't be at all of them all the time, but each of those locations may be slightly different. And, we are community focused, much like the 2 other folks on the call right now, but each community is different. So I think being able to kind of have that local flair across our entire organization really has some added benefit, but you need some folks that are going to be an extension of yourself. And then you can kind of be the filter before the final post of content. But asking for them to be engaged, helping you out, I think that can pay dividends.
Yeah, I think that that's a big key, right? Like you have frontline people, so you can leverage them. Now, don't make that their whole job, right? Because that's not their job. Their job is to provide a fantastic customer experience for those customers to keep them coming back. But that can be a piece. I mean, and that can be fun for some people. And you might find your next marketing director on the line, right? You never know. Okay, so let's go to Justin. Justin, anything from a content creation, sourcing, things to watch out for perspective that you can share?
Yeah, I think people, getting your customers involved and that helps, especially like on stories and things like that. So on our new sites, I think we're actually going to do some signage just, in a fun, playful way, encouraging people to tag us in their experience through the wash, things like that, that you can share. And then kind of like what Nick said, just getting our team, engaged and sending pictures. We've got a few people at each store that are involved and just kind of giving them some responsibility on, they're not in management positions in any way. They're just, hourly team members who love Splash and also love social media. So they help out in getting customer, pictures and things like that. So that's been really helpful for us too.
Okay, so Beth, I'm going to come to you, and I'm leading to one thing that I want you to talk about here. I want two things actually. One, I want to talk to you about incentivizing and how you guys are doing a little bit of an incentive for folks to in your company to give you content. But the other thing I want you to hit on here for people is things to watch out for when you are going to share someone else's content, like a customer content, you're going to reshare. So can you share some of those stories for me?
Or the what did Beth do today, right? With the eye roll. No, I'm teasing. So to start with that, things you need to watch out for. I mean, when our customers post and tag us, I mean, it's one of the best things in the world, right? Because it's an easy click to share that content. Now, in the day that you're super, super busy and you see something come through and it's so tempting just to go ahead and click share right away, post it on your story. But you have to take the time to make sure that your audio is on so that you preview the entire post before you submit. So one example that we learned almost the hard way is we had a beautiful video shared on Instagram of a customer going through our wash. I seriously was ready to click, go ahead and share it on our timeline. But this little voice inside my head said, you better listen to the whole thing. And it was so bad. I can't even say what it was. It's funny, but super bad. F-bombs here, getting all car washy, F this, F that. And I almost posted that on, our business page, and I would have been mortified. Yeah. So, just make sure that you're double checking things before you share them. There was a picture that I, quickly posted of a recent ribbon cutting where one of the city leaders of the town that we opened the wash in, she's flipping off. She's flipping off in the picture. Okay, I didn't see it, and I posted it. And that post stayed up all day. I felt like the joke was on me, right? So everybody was laughing about it, but no one said, hey, you might want to switch out that picture. So just don't be too hurried that you miss the details. I learned that the hard way, and I'm not ashamed to admit it because I'm human. The other thing with incentivizing employees for content, we're going to switch gears just a little bit, is like Justin and Nick both said, incentivize your team to submit pictures for you. We kind of rotate each month, but I'm doing $20 Amazon gift cards this month for any picture that I use that's submitted by our team members. We're working on getting a company store put up that's just for internal use, full of logo items, things that you don't wear at the wash, but just, things that you would like to have, for weekend leisure. At leisure, I'm kidding. But things like that. And so once that store is up and running, then we'll award points so that team members can go and pick out things that way. So you don't have to do it alone. Use your partners, involve your customers. I can't tell you how many times we get content submitted to us just from customers who love different things around the sites. And so use that, share it, but just double check it before you post it.
Oh yeah, always turn on the audio. That is
turn on the audio. If you learn anything today, turn on the audio.
Yeah, always make sure you hear it. Really, really good advice from you guys so far here in the program. We're going to wrap it up with what's one thing I can do now. But I do want to say to anybody watching in the feed live, if you do have a question, a pressing question that's not related to kind of the very finite points that we're trying to hit on today, you can ask that question and we will attempt to answer it for you. So don't be shy out there. Go ahead, ask your questions. We'll get them in front of this group of experts. So one thing, let's do the one thing game, shall we? Look, I'm watching this program. I'm a small operator. What's one thing that I can do today that will help me with my social media tomorrow? And let's go reverse order. Let's go, Beth. Why don't you kick us off?
Okay. I'm going to use another acronym called KISS. Okay. Keep it simple, stupid. And I think that so often we make this way more difficult than it needs to be. And one of our highest posts last year from an impression standpoint was when we were shut down periodically because of COVID. We took our founder, John Roush, out to the site and we did a Facebook Live behind the scenes at the wash. Highest impressions that we received. It was not perfect. I was standing there with my iPhone shooting it. It was wobbly. John was as authentic as and that's a real strength of his. But it was just good, authentic content. And that's what people want. They don't want the photoshopped, perfectly lighted and staged photos around the wash. They want real, authentic content. So don't make it difficult.
I love that. I love that advice because it gets to another little thing that we like to do, which is, we all love really cool photos of the wash process and stuff like that. Guess what? The customer, most of them don't care. That they don't really care. They don't understand what's going on. Great, you have ceramic. I don't even know what that is. So be careful of that. Be careful of the inside baseball. Okay, Justin, what's one thing I can do today to help me with my social media tomorrow?
So Beth just coined that they were getting washy, and I just wanted to point that out.
Washy? Yeah.
I don't know what that means, but I think the one thing you need to do is start the getting washy hashtag, and that will take your social media to the moon. No, I think if you're not planning in any way, if you are just kind of doing it on the fly, just you could literally do this today. Just plan out 2 weeks of social posts and get ahead. So plan out what you want to do, make a list of pictures you need, either delegate it, incentivize it, or go do it. And I mean, you could do that today and be ahead. So it's simple, but I think it would help.
Yeah, that's awesome advice too, because it's a big elephant to eat if you try to look at a year across all platforms and do that. Especially if you haven't started with the content calendar before, you're gonna get about 2 weeks in and you're gonna quit because it's hard. It's a little bit hard to get going, but once you get in the rhythm, 1 to 2 weeks is perfect to get started. That's awesome. Nick, one thing today that I can do to make my social better tomorrow.
Sure. So I touched on, engage your team members, I think twice already. I think that would be the starting point. But on the other side of that, I'd also like to add, in terms of content, prioritize your people over promotions. Really humanize your brand, introduce your members and guests to the folks that they see when they come to get their wash. It provides you an opportunity to kind of give them an experience or introduce them to what happens within your organization beyond their typical customer experience. I think that's a win, and people relate to that content more than, hey, we're running a promotion on gift cards. Now, do we do that? Yes. But I think being able to show content that's prioritizing your team over, a typical promotion is a win.
Yeah, I love that. I love that kind of make it about the people piece, because it really is. I mean, that's what's going to make people connect with you and make them want to come back. They're going to develop a relationship with you, and voila, you're winning. So I'll give one tip for everybody because I have lots of tips and lots of things to say, but I'm going to give you one. Bare minimum, write down why we talked about this. Write down why you're doing what you're doing on the platform you're working on. So just look at say, look, I'm gonna go all in on Facebook. That's what I'm gonna work on today. But write down why you're doing it. So then you can align everything that you put out on Facebook, for example, back to your why. So line it to your why. A long time ago, I used to preach on people doing, like, having a purpose for each thing. You don't necessarily have to have that, but it sure does give you a framework, and it sure does help you with your content calendar planning. So soapbox thrown out the window. If there are no questions coming from the gallery here today, I'm not seeing any pop up just yet. We're going to continue this series of social media for a very, very long time here on this program, because it's always a hot topic. There's always something to watch, and something is always changing. If you're looking for more episodes like this, or if maybe you're just looking to get inspired by some other car wash story, you can see other episodes of this program at carwashmagazine.com or on YouTube. As if we weren't on YouTube, then we wouldn't be very smart. So anyway, friends, until next time, we've got a big show for you coming up next week. We're going to get some outside of the industry perspective on selling unlimited plans and really how to flat out sell anything better. A special guest coming your way next week, so prepare for that. And we're going to talk about how to nurture those relationships along the way that we were talking a little bit about today with customer journeys. So mark your calendar, Thursday, 11:30 Central Time, facebook.com/carwash.org. And until then, when you're out there, keep it clean.